Programs for Florida Makes. And welcome to our webinar this morning on Made in America, leveraging reshoring to build your business. Um, again, we have a very excited about the opportunity to share this information on Made in America with you today. And we have our colleagues from the Small Business Administration, Florida office, Malcolm Richards and Sandra Mertes, as well as our colleagues from the Small Business Development Center Network, Greg Britton here. So very excited about that. Thank you again for joining us today. And again, this meeting is being recorded. So we look forward to being able to share that with you after the fact as well. Again, Florida Makes is the Florida Manufacturing Extension Partnership. We support a broad array of different resources across the state in support of manufacturing, but our primary mission is to strengthen and advance Florida's manufacturing economy, and with the goal of making Florida recognized as a global leader in manufacturing. Florida is a very strong and dynamic state in manufacturing, and we're very excited about this opportunity. How do we help manufacturers? So we are, first of all, we operate as a not-for-profit, objective third party. We're here to help you find the best solution for you, the manufacturer, you, the engineering firm, find the best solution for your business. We have a network of business advisors who are manufacturing experts who are distributed throughout the state. We have a number of folks who are working in individual program areas, workforce, supply chain, technology, education, business continuity, who can help connect you to resources, help solve problems, and help accelerate the growth of your business. Today's webinar will be talking specifically about Made in America and Buy America, and we want to be able to highlight a few different things in the course of today's webinar. First of all, we want you to learn how to build a supplier business that is eligible to take advantage of Buy America and Made in America sourcing opportunities. We want to tell you about, inform you about a number of different state and federal supplier scouting programs that are available to help you uncover new opportunities. We have a number of other partners, including SBA and SBDC, that have resources to help as well. We'll talk a little bit about how reshoring trends and demand patterns can be a benefit for your business. So first of all, we have a couple of, our overall agenda is to, we'll be doing an introduction of Made in America, give a little bit of background on Made in America, Build America, Buy America, and Buy American, and how those things are similar and different. Then we'll be diving into some of the opportunities through the Small Business Administration, and then through the Small Business Development Center Network and the Apex Accelerator resources, both of which are extremely important resources across our state and across the country. And then we'll be diving pretty in depth into Build America, Buy America, and what that means, how you can understand and engage with that in the context of your business to be able to help support that. And also talk a little bit about, there are some state level requirements related to Buy America also, which are useful for you to know about. Then we'll have conclude with some Q&A, and we have plenty to get through today. So in terms of, again, Florida Makes, our mission is to strengthen and advance Florida's manufacturing economy through technology adoption, business growth, and talent development. We are part of a broader national network called the Manufacturing Extension Partnership National Network, which covers all 50 states and Puerto Rico and offers a wide range of different resources and services in support of manufacturers, engineering firms, and innovators across the country. We also have a statewide footprint. We have a number of state manufacturers associations spread throughout the state. We work with a broad range of different partners to help support manufacturing. And manufacturing is a major industry in Florida. We have over 26,000 establishments. We have over 428,000 Floridians employed in manufacturing. at well over average annual wages in the state. The average annual wage in Florida is over 70, is now 74,588, and the average wage statewide, I believe, is in the range of $67,000. So it's substantially higher than the average annual wage. And one of the biggest things about manufacturing in Florida is it is very much a small business story. Over 80% of the manufacturers in Florida have 20 or fewer employees. And there are even when you highlight 500 or less, which is the classical definition of manufacturing of small business, you're getting up into the 90% plus percentage of manufacturers across the state. If you're interested in more information about manufacturing across a wide variety of different sectors and different regions, there is a link here to the 2023 Florida Manufacturing Report, which has a number of wonderful resources in that way, in that vein. And we're also very excited to announce that we will be updating this, and there will be a new report coming out from Florida Commerce at the very beginning of next year to highlight even how Florida has continued to grow and develop in its manufacturing base. Made in America. Made in America obviously is an enormous initiative. It's something that many of us are very excited about, is that we're bringing production and manufacturing back to the United States. For 20, 30, 40 years even, we've seen a devolution of our manufacturing to other countries, and it's really exciting to be in a time when we are able to be really focused on bringing that back and identifying many of the things that we need to be doing to do that. With the pandemic, it's hard to believe was 5 years ago now, but I think that really opened a lot of people's eyes to the importance of being able to produce locally for local needs, and that has only accelerated and expanded ever since. And so Made in America is now an enormous element of almost every initiative and program across the federal government, across many state governments. And there's a lot of ways that we want to be able to help you identify how you can get engaged in this, understand what it means for you, and how to be able to take advantage. There are a couple of different ways that we want to highlight this. First, in terms of some of the Buy America requirements that are specifically in federal law. So the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, which was passed by Congress back in 2021, included something called the Build America, Buy America Act, which required that all federally funded infrastructure projects use American-made iron, steel, construction materials, and manufactured products. There is additional guidance which sort of identifies what those specific requirements mean in the context of each individual agency and each individual project or program. And there are opportunities to request waivers for certain requirements if we are not able to, if folks are not able to find American-made products for specific commodities. We'll go into all of those details. But there are a couple of different sort of flavors of this. So Buy America versus Buy American. Buy America is specifically related to federal financial assistance. So if there is a loan or a grant provided by the federal government, then Buy America requirements apply to those funds and the projects funded through those funds. Whereas Buy American applies specifically to the government itself and to government procurement. So if the Department of Defense, Department of War is buying commodities to outfit a base, or if FEMA is buying commodities for disaster recovery, or Housing and Urban Development is buying things specifically for their own construction, those things are all under Buy American as opposed to Buy America. And we'll go into those details even further. But overall, the overall strategy behind Made in America, Build America, Buy America, and Buy American is that we see this as an opportunity as a country to invest in our domestic manufacturing capabilities as we are investing in re-engaging and reinvigorating our infrastructure. And so they're intended to stimulate private investment in manufacturing, bolster our supply chain, and most of all, support the creation of American jobs. And so the Build America, Buy America Act expanded existing Buy America requirements that were already in place to all federal financial assistance programs. And so now basically all federal funding is subject to these requirements in one way or another. And this has been only expanded and embraced in the most recent administration. And now we'll go and talk a little bit about some of the resources that are available for you as an American manufacturer through the Small Business Administration. Sandra, please go ahead. And Sandra and Malcolm, welcome. We have Malcolm Richards, who is the director of the Florida District Office for the Small Business Administration. And then we have Sandra Mertes, who is with the Office of Manufacturing and Trade at Small Business Administration and specifically focused on Florida, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. So welcome, Malcolm. Welcome, Sandra.
Thank you.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning. As Mike mentioned, I'm Malcolm Richards. I'm the District Director for the South Florida District Office of the Small Business Administration. I want to thank Florida Makes for this opportunity to collaborate, to work with, to help, our small businesses, manufacturing especially. Most of you perhaps are familiar with what we do. We are the only federal agency that, represent the voice of small businesses to the president. We have different tools and resources to help small businesses. One of our priorities is getting businesses to, return to the U.S. And this is our priorities as an agency. So how do we help small businesses? So maybe you're in Florida, you're looking to expand, we can assist you there. Maybe you're looking to, return your business to the U.S. We can help you there all along the supply chains. How do we help? Through our financial assistance programs. So we can help you there. Maybe also you're looking for government contracting. So if you believe you have a product or service that the U.S. government is willing to purchase, we can assist. As some of us perhaps know, the American government is the largest buyer of goods and services globally, and we always want to ensure 23% of small businesses can participate in the federal marketplace. So those are some of the programs that we help manufacturing and other small businesses. We also have, perhaps some of you may not look for traditional financing that we guarantee through the lenders, but maybe you're looking for equity financing. And this is where we have the small business investment companies. I would leave you with this. We're a small agency, but we pack a lot of punch. Companies that we help along the way during their early stages of development include Apple. Most of us either have an Apple phone, some form of Apple computers or something. Nike, Tesla. So we see a lot of Tesla in Florida. They receive financial assistance during the early stages of development with SBA. So those are a few success stories nationally I wanted to kind of highlight. So, and for a small business, it depends on the industry. So if you're in service, 100 employees and fewer, manufacturing, 500 and fewer. So there's a place at the table for you. So again, thank you for this opportunity to speak to you. Thanks. Sandro.
Thank you, Malcolm. Good morning, everybody. I want to, again, also thank Florida Makes for inviting us to be part of this webinar and to have the opportunity to share some information that we believe it's useful for manufacturers especially when we talk about access to financing. Okay, so why is manufacturing important? I think Florida Make uh, does a lot of good spreading the information regarding the benefits of manufacturing for not only for Florida but for the nation. Uh, we can point out some some of the fundamental reasons why manufacturing is important. We're talking about national security, reducing the dependency on foreign supply chain, job creation. We know that manufacturing jobs offer higher wages. And if we have more manufacturing, we have economic growth. Um, we have the support from not only SBA, but from the federal government. And having manufacturing plants means not only having the direct jobs for those plants, but also all the supply chain that develops around that. And of course, SBA is committed as part of the administration goal to support onshoring, bringing back, again, as Mike pointed out, bringing back manufacturers to the States. In order to do that, it's not just moving your plant back to the States, but you also have to find suppliers. And that's why SBA created the Make Onshoring Great Again a webpage where you can find different databases like IndustryNet, ThomasNet, Connects, Marketplace, which are supported by many of the MEPs, such as Florida Make, around the country. And there you can have access to potential suppliers. Also, if you have any issues with federal regulation, you can access the red tape hotline where you can, want to say report, but you can point out that those obstacles that you find on your road to bringing back your company. So SBA, as you know, does not provide direct financing unless there is a disaster. Otherwise, we work with our partners, the banks, to provide access to financing to small businesses. As Malcolm pointed out, we have the North American Industrial Codes, where based on the industry, we can qualify businesses as small or large. So our financing program, our guarantee programs that we provide to the banks so that the banks have the opportunity to provide loans to companies that are fundamentally good, but they still have some weaknesses. And SBA and its guarantee programs can mitigate those weaknesses and allow the banks to provide the financing. So our programs allow small businesses to compete globally, to expand by expanding their facilities or building up their new facilities, having access to funds to buy sophisticated equipment, and also fund the reshoring process. Those programs are either term loans or working capital lines under different guarantee programs based on the use of funds. And as I said, also we provide term financing for real estate, equipment, and also for business acquisitions. The most famous program that SBA has are the loans, the term loans under the 7A umbrella. And again, businesses can access permanent working capital. They can access financing to buy and to purchase equipment, to purchase real estate or expand real estate if they need to buy another business, or a partner needs to do a buyout of his current partner. They can also use these programs. And of course, if you have debt that maybe is has a very high interest rate, SBA allows to use the programs, the 7A program, to refinance that debt, reducing interest rates and extending the repayment terms, which is very beneficial for your cash flow because it reduces the payment that you have to make monthly. We also have the 504 loan programs through our partners, the certified development companies and the lenders. It's a combination of an SBA debenture and a bank loan. And again, it was actually created to assist manufacturers to purchase commercial real estate and also equipment. Some of the benefits are a lower down payment. It can be as low as 10% of the value of the project. And of course, the long-term fixed rates and the terms, the extended terms that can go from 10, 20, and 25 years. Again, very beneficial for a company because it improves the cash flow and companies are not that heavy weight of the monthly payment. We also have different programs for lines of credit. The most recent that was launched, was the working capital program pilot, which is a program that can be used as an asset-based line of credit under which you can finance receivables, both domestic and international, and also inventory. Or it can be a transactional line of credit in which you can, for example, you win a large contract. Malcolm mentioned federal contracting. You bid, you win the contract, and now you have to find the funding to perform on that contract. And the working capital program is a great tool that the bank can use to provide access to a line of credit where the small business can get advances so that they can perform on the contract. Another program that was launched is the manufacturer's access to revolving lines of credit. It's a combination of a line of credit and a term loan that goes up to $5 million. Basically, this program is just for manufacturers. You have to be under the NAICS code 31, 32, or 33 to have access to basically a line of credit that you can use for multiple uses. The bank has the flexibility to have it fully monitored or just let you manage the line for the uses you have. We also have the export loan programs, very important. We have the EWCP or Export Working Capital Program, again, a line that goes up to $5 million, and you can use it as an asset-based line of credit to finance export sales. You can, under that line, as an ABL, you can finance foreign account receivables and export inventory. You can finance also, you can have access to pre-export financing. Again, you get purchase orders or contracts from foreign buyers. You can use that line to finance those transactions. You have the international trade loan, which is basically the 7A program on steroids. Because if the company is an exporter, indirect exporter, getting ready to export, the bank can get a 90% guarantee for up to a $5 million loan. That makes a higher guarantee, makes the bank more willing to provide the financing. You also have the Export Express. Again, it can be issued as a line of credit or as a term loan, 90% guarantee up to $500,000. Here you have different parameters to evaluate which line of credit is best for you under the different programs that SBA has, like the MARC, the Express, the Export Express, the Cap Line, Contract Cap Lines, Working Capital Program, and Export Working Capital Program. So each one of them can fit best the needs for funding for the small business. You're going to hear from Greg after my presentation, who is the executive director, the state director for the SBDC. I always invite small businesses that are looking to approach a bank to access financing to work with an SBDC counselor, because they will help them prepare that loan package, making sure that it's complete, and they're explaining their need for financing so that the bank can feel comfortable providing the loan. So again, here are the different programs under the different needs that the small business has. If they need just an open revolver, or maybe they need a borrowing-based certificate driven line of credit, in which they just want to finance the receivable or the inventory, or they need pre-export financing, or they need a line to finance those contracts. Any of those lines of credit can allow them to access the financing they need. This is my presentation. Here's my information. The colleagues from Florida Makes will share my presentation, so you will have my contact information, and I'll be more than glad to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sandro, and wonderful presentation. A wonderful set of resources that are available through the SBDC, through the SBA, and I hope that many of our manufacturers, especially here in Florida, are able to avail themselves of those resources, especially the new MARC program. That's very exciting that we have now a specialized, focused program for lending in support of small manufacturers. Now we'll turn to Greg Britton, who's the executive director and for the Florida Small Business Development Center Network and the Florida Apex Accelerator.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Florida Makes, for having this webinar. Very important information for manufacturers that I've heard so far from the SBA and from the Florida Makes. I hope that what I can tell you also adds some flavor and help for the manufacturers here in Florida. Just a bit about myself. As Michael said, I'm the network state director for both the SBDC program and the Florida Apex Accelerator program. I grew up in manufacturing, so manufacturing is near and dear to my heart. I'm always available for any discussion on manufacturing. So two of the programs that I'm going to talk about today are under the University of West Florida's umbrella, and have been for nearly 50 years for the Florida Small Business Development Center Network, and I'll call it the Florida SBDC from now on. But then also 40 years for the Florida Apex Accelerator program. Both of these programs have statewide coverage. The programs serve all 67 counties of Florida through 9 centers that are hosted at institutes of higher education. We have 40 plus offices across the state, and then I think about 50 plus outreach centers as well, and then 225 plus consultants and staff working across the state daily. That many of these consultants are former executives, they're recovering bankers, as I'd like to say, and business owners who live and work in their communities, and from their heart they want to do well and create a vibrant community for where they live. These resources are at no cost or very low cost for the small businesses across Florida. Just to kind of give you some background, this is just manufacturing stats for us, but in 2024, the network engaged nearly 1,000 manufacturers and helped small manufacturers secure $70 million in capital and about $110 million in government contracts. And again, that's just the manufacturing piece of that, because we serve all Florida small businesses. To talk a little bit more about the Florida SBDC, we are a resource partner of the U.S. Small Business Administration, which you heard from Malcolm and Sandro just a minute ago. That's the South District office, but we also have Janelle that we partner up with at the North District office in Jacksonville. So what do? We provide one-on-one consulting, training, and research to support small businesses across the state. As you can imagine, and as we are talking about on this webinar, 2025, the SBA has really come out of the gate, really wanted to focus on manufacturing. And of course, we support that 100%. That was evident through their Made in America initiative. We responded as the Florida SBDC network by creating our own manufacturing strategy. So really what we're trying to do with that strategy is we have a lot of partners already working across the state, like the Florida Makes, the MEP program here. Florida Commerce is doing things. Career Source Florida is doing things, right? The SBA is doing things. What I want to do is lay out a strategy where all 9 of our regions are kind of following the same guidelines and in the same swim lanes and leveraging those partners all across the state. One of the first things we did is we launched our manufacturing and onshoring hub. That was really done in coordination with the Make Manufacturing Great Again portal. So that points back to that portal, and also the red tape hotline that Sandro talked about, and also the resources that are available here in Florida as well. So that's our manufacturing onshoring hub is what we're calling that. And we'll do some more tweaking to that in 2026. We're in conversations with Florida Makes about how that looks, and other resource partners across the state to really make that a vibrant portal for Florida manufacturers and a resource for Florida manufacturers that will be a partnership with different organizations. So just a few of the services, I'm just going to highlight a few. Business planning is a big thing that we do. As Sandro said, capital planning. We have consultants that are, like I said, are ex-bankers, right? They're financial folks. There have been CFOs. They look at, what the capital needs are for your businesses, or what you think your capital needs are for your manufacturing business. What might be the best vehicle to get you in, whether that's an SBA 7A, 504, Mark loan, whatever those are. Or maybe it's traditional, right? We want what's best for the manufacturer and that small business owner. Exit planning, business valuations, marketing, management structure. As you get a little bit more into the maturity of a business, we look at that. But I really wanted to highlight the exporting piece that we do, because I think that's a very underutilized and major income driver that could be for income expansion, I guess, for a small manufacturer. You think about 95% of the consumers are outside of the United States, and 2/3 of the buying power is outside of the United States. So, exporting is a very good diversification of your business. And we work with Select Florida, which is the international arm of Florida Commerce, to create some magnificent export marketing plans. That is a cost. It's a little cost. It's $500 to the manufacturer, but it's probably about a $20,000 plan if you got that done in the private sector. And that looks at like what markets might be the best for your product, how you might market those products, what maybe the culture looks like in those countries that you're going to export to, and all kinds of things like that. So very, very good vehicle, very good plan that our international trade consultants or specialists, they're just fabulous. And we have a lot of tools to back that up as well, to get the data that is needed to make those decisions. The other program I want to talk about is the Florida Apex Accelerator program. It is funded by the Department of War. The program, in a nutshell, supports rebuilding and expanding a secure, innovative, small business defense industrial base. If you think about what that program does, it helps small businesses navigate government contracting. And you think about the U.S. government, it's the world's largest buyer of products, right? So, the consultants help walk you through that process, help with capability statements, help with CMMC. We don't go very far in that CMMC perspective, but, we can get you the right resources if we get too far down the path of CMMC. registration support for federal procurement systems like SAMS.gov and dynamic small business search, DSBS. And both of those are foundational for being discovered, right, as a small business or as a manufacturer. We support identifying procurement portals and marketing visibility and market visibility. And then lastly, I'll just, that really this program under the Florida Apex Accelerator brand has really focused on technology transition and commercialization. That's that part of rebuilding the defense industrial base and that innovation piece. We do have an individual that is stationed right inside the walls of Defense Works, which is a defense innovation hub right here in Florida, in Niceville, Florida. And they also have another hub in Tampa called SoftWorks. That person supports connections of those novel technologies from small businesses to the government, but also maybe the government wants to transition out and commercialize something so that individual helps facilitate. Is there a small business in Florida that you could manufacture that product or further develop that product for commercial needs? And I like to say that's how, GPS, that's how that was actually, developed, right, for commercial use. And we have that on all of our phones today. We help with SIBRs and SITRs, SBIR, STTRs, and then also potential other innovative connections with the network ecosystem. So just to wrap up, we're the largest continuous network in the nation for these programs. I believe that's a huge advantage for Florida. It doesn't make a difference what 9 regions and what those expertise in those 9 regions are. We can use those best practices across the entire state. We can leverage a statewide network uniformly like Florida makes and the MEP. We can leverage those partners and connect and transfer folks back and forth between all the regions. So it's just a very beneficial and impactful way to really have a program here in Florida. And it shows by our metrics and our KPIs that we perform on every single day. The team across the state, both in the Apex Accelerator program and the Florida SBDC network, are just amazing. They are I truly believe they highlight the best of the best across the nation. And I'm so proud to work with them every day to do what we do and help small businesses. So to really learn more about these programs, we have the floridasbdc.org website and flapex.org website. So just go check those out. And again, thank you, Florida Makes, for hosting this webinar, and SBA for being a great partner here in the state of Florida. And we're proud to be a resource partner of you both.
Thank you very much, Greg, and thank you again for being such wonderful partners and wonderful resources for manufacturers and small businesses of all stripes across Florida, and as well to Malcolm and Sandro for your support and engagement as well. It's wonderful to have such a great network of resources and support for our small manufacturers and small businesses, including Florida Commerce, including CareerSource Florida, and so many other partners across the state as well. Now I wanted to take the remaining time we have to dive a little bit further into Build America, Buy American, Made in America, and really sort of get under the hood of what exactly all this means and what it might be able to mean for you. So again, just a quick refresher. We talked about this toward the top, but there is Buy America and there is Buy American. Buy America is specifically related to federal financial assistance awards for infrastructure. And Buy American is for contracting and direct procurement by federal agencies. Now, one thing that is interesting to note about Buy America, the infrastructure part, is that it does actually apply to an entire infrastructure project that has any tie to federal funding subject to that clause. So even if the federal funding, which is subject to Buy America, is only a very small portion of the overall capital stack for an infrastructure project, the entire infrastructure project will be subject to Buy America requirements in its entirety. That is the way that Department of Transportation, that Housing and Urban Development, and other agencies, Army Corps of Engineers that are doing this, are instituting these requirements. Likewise, also, it only applies directly to articles, materials, and supplies that are directly involved in that infrastructure project. So if there are other things that are going on outside that infrastructure project, that those are not subject to Buy America in the same way. Buy America is strictly and only for that infrastructure piece. That said, within that infrastructure piece, all iron, steel, manufactured products, and construction materials used in cover projects must be produced in the United States. There are some exceptions, things like cement, some other things are explicitly exempted, but in the larger sense, yes. If it is iron, steel, manufactured, or construction materials, and it's in an infrastructure project, it must be produced in the United States pursuant to the requirements we'll get into. And this is in place as of May 2022. In certain cases, certain federal agencies have instituted different phase-in periods. For example, for HUD, basically everything after August 23rd of last year, August 23rd of 2024, is subject to Buy America. For U.S. Department of Transportation, the operative date was July of this year, July of 2025. Everything that was funded by Department of Transportation after July of 2025 is now fully subject to Buy America. But if you have specific questions about the applicability, you should contact the program manager or the funding agency, and they will be able to tell you exactly what that assessment engages with. Also, it doesn't apply to tools, equipment, supplies that are brought to construction site temporarily, or equipment and furnishings that are part of or inside a building. It only applies to the building, not to the furniture, et cetera, that's involved in it. So anything that's integral part of the structure or permanently affixed to the structure is subject to Buy America, but the other elements of that facility are not. And then here is some of the definition of infrastructure. Obviously, it's things like bridges, highways, dams, railroads, airports, water, wastewater, electrical transmission, all kinds of different energy infrastructure are all subject to Buy America. Again, talking about this, the actual, the common term in the marketplace is made in America, but the actual, and I am not a lawyer, but the actual legal term that's in the regulations themselves is actually specifically produced in the United States. And that is defining what is produced in the United States are specifically iron and steel products where the initial melting all the way to the application of coatings, all manufacturing processes need to have occurred in the United States relative to those types of products. For manufactured products, the manufactured product must be manufactured in the United States, and the cost of the components that are mined, produced, or manufactured in the U.S. are greater than 55% of the total cost of all components. Now that, and we'll talk about exactly how that's defined in a bit further. And then in construction materials, all manufacturing processes for construction materials also must have occurred in the United States to be classified as produced in the United States under these definitions. Again, for getting into some of the details for components that are purchased by a contractor, the relevant costs are the acquisition costs, including the transportation costs to the where it needed to be incorporated into the end product, and any applicable duties. So tariffs are included, tariff costs are included in that cost of that component with a foreign aspect, with a foreign component to it. For components manufactured by the contractor, all costs associated with the manufacturing components, plus allocable overhead costs, but excluding profits. So, and we'll go into some of the detail there as well. But cost of components doesn't include any costs associated with the manufacture of the end product. It's just only specifically related to the cost of the components itself. And in terms of do components need to be produced in the United States to allow a manufactured product to qualify? It simply requires that 55% of the cost of components must be manufactured in the United States. Does not mean that all components need to be produced in the United States. You just have to be able to prove that it fits that 55% criteria. And again, as we were talking about before, the acquisition cost and applicable duty are included for components which are purchased by the manufacturer from another supplier. For components that are manufactured by the manufacturer themselves, those are defined separately. Now, how we will go about actually doing this is very much in terms of getting into the details of your bill of materials. So this is a very simple example just to try to identify, how this is done. But you take a very simple example where we're taking basically a steel box with some lights, kind of an interface, which might have a printed circuit board involved. And you're looking at the various elements of this. So you had your US sheet metal. There's a portion of that which is based from the US. Then you have some which was brought from, external to the US, outside of the US. And then you kind of calculate them line by line, bring the whole thing together, and you can identify the total percentage of US manufacturing costs. So then, once you've done this, and once you do this, based on your bill of materials, you do that analysis, then you can kind of evaluate, whether you meet the threshold, and if you don't meet the threshold, or if you want to try to, bump up the threshold, you can kind of evaluate, especially for your US components, you can look at your overhead costs, how you calculate those, what else is involved in those. And really that involves kind of engaging with some of your financial professionals, engaging with your finance team, engaging with even some of your external advisors to be able to evaluate those opportunities and those different choices that you have with regard to those. In terms of non-US components, obviously you can explore reshoring. And we have a number of different resources, which we'll talk about, available for that from ourselves, through the SBA onshoring platform, through SBDC, but also just understanding your product's design, your composition, your sourcing, your manufacturing, figuring out where and how you might be able to shift those components that are needed, or adjusting those things within the actual design itself to be able to change, to be able to become compliant or with those standards. And then also kind of looking at your current product classifications with the trade compliance professional, because sometimes how your product is classified impacts how duties are applied, and that can kind of add to the cost of a particular component coming in from overseas. If you're able to evaluate that and legitimately make a case for adjusting that, then sometimes those cost bases can be adjusted, and that can help also with the overall calculation of sort of US-based content versus foreign content. Now, ultimately, how these are types of compliance are documented is through the issuance of compliance letters. So here are some different compliance letters. Many times these are, I know this is fairly small type, and we will be giving you copies of these slides, so you can go in and look at these, and if you have more questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. But essentially, these are specific, highlighting specific products or product lines, and then identifying that those product lines are and have been certified to be 55% or higher percent, or 55% or higher domestic content. And depending on the agency, sometimes those letters are done at the project level, and sometimes those letters are done at the product level. So you do need to go back and check with the funder, with the agency that is providing the funding, to understand exactly what type of letter is necessary to be able to meet the requirements that they want to see. But these letters are typically issued by the manufacturer. So you need, as a manufacturer, need to go and do this analysis, evaluate this, and then produce this letter, which becomes something that you provide to your customer to validate that the products are compliant with the requirements. Now, shifting gears slightly, going to Buy American. This is federal procurement as opposed to infrastructure projects. Federal procurement, domestic content requirements have been rising actually in recent years. So they initially began at 55% in 2021. They rose to 60% in 2022. They were raised again to 65% effective last year. And they will be raised to 75% in 2029. So if you are providing manufactured goods directly to federal agencies, they're procuring these directly. Those are things that are subject to Buy American, and those are the domestic content thresholds that are established for those commodities, for those products. There is a fallback threshold that's allowed, which is in certain cases, agencies have found that if they aren't able to find products that they need that meet those thresholds, they are able to continue to apply the 55% domestic content threshold until 2030. If you are interested in knowing more about that, you can reach out to us and be happy to give you more information about that. In terms of waivers for BABA requirements, so this is actually waivers for either Build America, Buy America, or Buy American. It's true for both. Applying if agencies can waive Build America or Buy American requirements if applying the Buy America preference would be inconsistent with public interest, which is known as a public interest waiver. If those products or materials are not available in the United States, sufficient available quantity or satisfactory quality, that's a non-availability waiver. And the third is if specifically for infrastructure, if the cost involved in procuring those materials or products would raise the overall cost of the product by more than 25%, that's known as an unreasonable cost waiver. And then, of course, there's guidance that those should be limited, targeted, and conditional. Typically, if you're interested in pursuing a waiver request, an assistance recipient must provide the federal agency with a request in writing according to agency provided submission instructions. The agency will develop a publicly available written explanation for the proposed determination of a waiver. Basically, they put this out publicly for public comment. There's 15 calendar days offered for public comment. And then it must be submitted to the White House Office of Management and Budget, Made in America office for final approval. And there may be some additional agency-specific criteria depending on which agency and which program you're dealing with. And we'll get into a process of how MEP fits into the overall waiver process in a moment. But I did want to transition very quickly to Florida. In Florida, we have specific requirements. So there is a Florida bill which went through last year, highlighting U.S. produced iron and steel required for infrastructure. And then also just this year we have, or this coming year, there's a couple of manufacturing bills coming forward that will specifically highlight a Made in Florida campaign to be able to highlight Made in Florida products specifically, which you may be able to take advantage of. So if you have questions, obviously there are a number of complicated rules. There's a number of ways that you can do this. But first of all, and most important, I think, engaging on this allows you to let the world know that you make a BABA or Buy American compliant product, and there are enormous resources and availability for those as we're going forward. In terms of resources that we have available, we have Connex Florida, which is a statewide resource that enables you to highlight that you produce products here in the United States, here in Florida, and you're able to showcase that. And also, if you're interested in finding out about different resources that are available from Florida or from the United States, that resource is also available. It's also, you can connect through the Make Onshoring Great Again portal at the SBA, or directly through Florida Makes. We have a Supply Chain Florida resource. But we also have an opportunity here with Buy America. The Manufacturing Extension Partner Network actually is the one that evaluates resources for Buy America waivers. So if there's a request for a Buy America waiver, the MEP program will actually, including Florida Makes, will actually go out and evaluate that and make a determination whether or not there are US based producers of those commodities, and then feed that information back to the agency, which then ultimately makes the determination whether or not to move forward with issuing a waiver. Here's the process for engaging with us on MEP Supplier Scouting. You go within Florida, you go to supplychainflorida.com or reach out directly to my colleague Connor Hilwa, and we will be able to engage you on that. And then we also have a number of other supply chain resources available through that site, including total cost of ownership resources, supply chain risk management, business continuity, and a number of other opportunities. So we will take a couple minutes here just for questions. And are there any questions? Let's see. There's a specific question on laboratory rice mills. We will be happy to answer that actually separately offline. I think that's a little more technically focused than we want to get into here, but I did want to be able to highlight a couple things before we go. There are a number of different reshoring trends. It is a great business opportunity. There are obviously we have a number of different resources through Florida Makes and our team, through the SBA, through SBDC, to be able to help you engage with this. We really look forward to doing that with you. We have a few different webinars which are also coming up. We have one on no-cost business assessments for manufacturers on January 23rd of 26. And we also have another one on data breaches with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement on the 30th of January, and then a couple more on supply chain and manufacturer of the year in February, and one on artificial intelligence in March. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. And please have a wonderful holiday season.